Hi folks, I've done a little bit more work on the gaming mod project, as you can see. I'm pretty much resigned to the fact now that this project is not going to be completed this year. The weather is getting too cold, too damp. We're not going to get this painted because there's still quite a lot of work that I need to do. That doesn't mean I'm going to just stop work on it. I think over the winter we'll probably just do some of the jobs that can be done indoors, or jobs that don't require good weather. I'm pretty much set now on a few ideas. I've put a couple of LED fans in the front here just to see what that would look like, which I think is pretty effective. I've got a Revoltech 120mm white LED fan there and just a cheap generic blue LED fan. I'm thinking of possibly just popping in some white lighting into this. Having worked with white lighting on Project Old Faithful, I've grown to quite like it. It also means whichever colour scheme I go for on this particular case, the white LEDs should work well and should set it off quite nicely. Now, as you can see, we've cut the hole for the side window, and this is different to my original plan. You may recall, and you can still see where I'd marked the original lines on the side. We were going to go for a full side window, but because I've been having some problems with the structure of the case, with it skewing, bearing in mind we've cut out quite a lot of the support structures. Obviously we cut out behind the front panel so we can get the fans in and a radiator in. We've removed the hard drive bays, and I know that we have put in this bracing panel here. I was still concerned that by cutting out more metal we were just going to make the problems worse again, so I decided to go for this kind of rounded triangle. Kind of got an Antec feel to it, Antec 900, and that allows us to see plenty of the inside of the case there. We've just caught the bottom of the power supply, but that's not a problem. It keeps these vents in, because when you've got anything like this in the side panel, you've either got to cut the whole lot out or leave them in. You can't really do a half and half. And if we wanted to, if we still felt that the cooling wasn't sufficient, we could still stick, on the actual side panel itself, we could still stick a 120mm fan on there, or something smaller if you wanted. That's a 92. So that gives us some more cooling options, and I think one of the key kind of tenets of this project is going to be some flexibility. Gaming cases these days give you a lot of flexibility in how you can set your system up. I'm going to be limited because this is still a kind of common garden budget case at the end of the day, but we're going to do what we can with it. So I think actually that is going to look quite effective. I quite like that window shape. It's quite bold, and it's just not what I expected really. I think it's quite striking, so it should have the impact that I think a side window really ought to have. I think we are going to go for some fans on the top, and I think we are going to stick with two 80mm fans, because two 80mm fans will fit on there, so we will be cutting the holes for those. I need to get myself an 80mm hole saw, which I don't have at the moment. Once I've got that, I will cut those out. Now, 80mm fans aren't always fashionable. We think bigger fans these days, 140s, 240s, that kind of thing. But we could stick a 120 on the top. But I thought 280s gives us in effect 160, and I'm just trying to balance out what's coming in with what's going out. So if you've got two 120s on the front, you've got about 240. This will give you 160. If you put a 92 on the back, you're looking at about 250. It's even Stevens. I know you may want to think, well, should you go for a positive air pressure case or a negative air pressure? Some people prefer one, some people prefer the other. Well, you can do that if you want, but this gives the option at least to try and get it balanced. And I know really it's more to do with CFM rather than it is the fan size, but I'm just trying to keep it a little bit simple and trying to keep it within what we can achieve with this case. So I think that should work well. So there'll be an option there to put a couple of 80mm fans on the top. I think what we're going to do here around the top is I think we're going to build in a fan controller into this case. I think that's going to be important, and I'm thinking of perhaps in the middle here of having a nice big knobbed controller, a rheostat, or I might just put some switches on which kind of flip between 12 and 7 volts, maybe reuse some of the wiring from my homemade fan controller. But that will make it a permanent feature of this case if we use this bit up here, and we probably will use a terminal block as well, just to try and keep the wiring a bit neater and tidier. So that is probably going to mean there'll be a lot of wiring in this case, which means we'll be looking at cable sleeving. So these are all jobs that we can probably do over the winter before we even get to spraying. Obviously I've still got to think about, you know, the edging pieces for this to finish the sides off, and we still do need to do a little bit of trimming down here just so we can lift the whole of the front panel up a little bit. So there is plenty of work to do before we even get to painting the case. So it's going to be a long-term project. I hope you'll stick with me on it, and thank you very much for watching.